very slick operation. Okay, everyone. Richard, Dale, we're on air. We're on air. What date is it today? 7th. Welcome to the Singer Vielle. Oh, I've got Michael. Hold on, it's me. 7th of April, Google Hangout. Okay, now remember, this is CPD accredited. So anybody who wants a CPD certificate can drop us an email afterwards, and we will send them a certificate, half an hour certificate, unless, of course, someone decides to talk for quite a long time. Remember also to sign up to our YouTube channel, and that way you will always receive a notification of when we're doing our Google Hangouts. Okay, so who do we have today? Today we have yours truly, Neil Singer. We have Dale Henry. Look at him, he's so handsome. We have Richard Walfrid. Unfortunately, Graham Waddell can't make it, but our special guest today is Michael Metliss, and we would like to welcome Michael Metliss as a guest speaker. And so can everybody please welcome Michael. Love it. Okay, so let's start with the news today. Okay, so the news, right? The news this week I wanted to mention is Easy Property have announced an £11 million loss. And Rob Ellis is quoted as saying, investors have full confidence. The September figures had a turnover of £875,000 turnover and a gross profit of 490,000, but a whopping loss of 11.3 million. Now, I have been a big fan of Easy Property and Purple Bricks and all these online agencies, but it's quite interesting that Easy Property have made such a loss actually to start with, which I think is quite surprising really, because if you look at, here is the share price of Purple Bricks, and as you'll see once again, the share price of Purple Bricks keeps on going. It keeps on going. It's incredibly high. 294. They floated at £1 a share. Countrywide this week, traditional agency shares unfortunately keep going down. They hit a new low this week of 150 a share. Foxtons, also a traditional agency, went down a lot this week. However, I have to say that I had reason to speak to Foxtons this week in a property search, and they were incredibly professional and incredibly smooth and slick. They have a back office in Chiswick who phoned me. Their front office in London called me as well, and I went to arrange appointments, and they really are actually a very interesting business. And I think that even though the traditional estate agency is suffering, I think there is probably a halfway house, and I think Foxtons will probably improve. So I think their shares will probably go up actually. So that's my view on the news of the week. Now, I think what we'll do today, any news? Anyone else got any news? Dale, you got any news? Any news you want to share? No? Richard, any news? No? Any news? No? Okay, we are going to bring in our most esteemed guest today, and here we are, Michael Metliss. Michael Metliss is the Rottweiler of property litigation at Berwin, Leighton, Paisner, and he's a good friend. I've known him for many years, and he's going to give us a bit of an insight today about certain areas of property law and litigation. So I'm going to introduce, there he is, there's Michael Metliss. And I need to unmute you. How do I mute you? Wait a minute. All right, there you are, Michael. There you are.
Yeah. Can you hear me now? I can't hear you, Neil.
No, you can't hear me. Don't worry about me. You're on. You're on. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, everyone can hear you now.
Yeah.
What are we going to talk about?
Well, actually, I've got a couple of cases I wanted to talk about, which have a practical application to hopefully a number of your, or all of your viewers, and I was going to set out some facts, not going to talk for too long, set out some facts, and then ask you and the viewing public how you think, or how you and they think the court decided each case.
Very clever. Very clever. Okay. So off you go.
So the first case is between Bristol Rovers Football Club and Sainsbury's. So two well-known parties. And Sainsbury's agreed to buy Bristol Rovers ground. You with me?
I'm with you.
So they agreed to buy.
Richard, are you with him? Are you with us?
Yes, I'm listening.
Richard, okay. Yes, go.
So they agreed to buy Bristol Rovers ground, and there was Sainsbury's were going to turn it into a mixed-use development, with a big Sainsbury's store at the heart of it. And it was a condition of the agreement that Sainsbury's had to procure a satisfactory planning permission. So they obtained a planning permission, but it wasn't satisfactory. There was an issue about store opening hours, which they didn't like. And they only had to appeal permission if they had a council's opinion that they had a 60% chance of winning the appeal. And they got a council's opinion which only gave them the 55% chance of winning the appeal. So they said, condition hasn't been satisfied, we're walking away.
Were they obliged to? Were they obliged to do the appeal?
Only if they had a council's opinion of 60% chance of success, which they couldn't get or didn't get. And they weren't. Okay, you got it?
Yep.
So they terminated the agreement and were quite happy to do so because commercially it wasn't viable for them anymore. So they were happy to get out. And Bristol Rovers were understandably upset about this. And I should point out that they had to use all reasonable endeavours to secure this planning permission. And they also had a best endeavours obligation in the agreement. So they had to use best endeavours throughout to act properly and get this agreement performed. So Rover said, well, notwithstanding the fact that you didn't get your 60% council's opinion, you still ought to appeal because that's part of your best endeavours obligation. And also, you should let us step in and conduct the planning process ourselves. Even though it's not in the agreement, part of your best endeavours obligation is to allow us to step in, even if you don't want to do it and you want to terminate. The agreement's not terminated because we should have the chance to get the planning permission through so that we can sell the development to you.
Okay.
Those are the facts in summary.
Okay, so can I ask you a question?
Yes, please.
Okay, so my question is, you said that they had to have a council's opinion, I've got this right, of 50%.
60%.
60% in order
60% chance of winning, yeah.
They had to have a 60% chance in order. So if they didn't get 60%, they didn't have to launch the appeal.
Yeah.
Well, my question: how do you judge? I mean, we all know, in my experience of dealing with pastors, no one ever says 100%, and it's so subjective. How do you say 50, 60, 70? So where did
they go to
So where did the 60% come from?
That was in the agreement.
Okay, all right. So and we've got to tell you who we think won.
So yeah. So we've got a show of hands. Or
a show of hands. Okay, show of hands.
Show of hands.
Hold on. Let's pass it around the room. Right, Dale.
And
yeah.
Oh, sorry,
Michael. Go on. You were saying and. What's the and?
No, so it's a show of hands, really. Who thinks Bristol Rovers won? Remember, there was this it was a good faith obligation on the part of Sainsbury's, which Bristol Rovers said that trumps everything. Whereas Sainsbury's said the strict terms of the agreement have been complied with, we can walk away.
Okay, so
So
okay.
who thinks
Hold
Bristol
on,
Rovers won?
wait, Dale, you got any questions?
Yeah, sorry.
Yep, I've got it.
No questions. Genius. Richard.
I'm clear as well.
You're clear as well.
Okay. So who thinks Bristol Rovers won?
Me. I do. I think Bristol Rovers. Yeah, I agree.
Hold on, I need to think. You're saying, so Richard is saying Bristol Rovers, Dale's saying Bristol Rovers. Let me think. I am going to say.
Yeah.
Well, because you see, when people do conditional contracts based upon planning,
yes,
my experience is that really any developer can wriggle out if they want to. You know, they might say the brick's the wrong color or it's too high. So it's almost doing a deal conditional on planning. It's very, very hard to enforce it. So I'm actually going to go with Sainsbury's.
Neil, I congratulate you because the judge agrees with you. Or agree with you.
Well, I don't want to say, boys, that you know. I mean, I do remember Reading University, 1980 law course, land management. Thank you very much. And that is why I am an MRICS. So, Michael, there you are. Is that the reason, though? The reason because they can always wriggle.
It's very easy to wriggle out of these. It's always possible. There are always arguments you can use, particularly when the agreement was drawn up years ago, and when you finally get to the crunch, circumstances have changed, and what the parties envisaged at the beginning may not be what they want at the end. And there's, as you say, as you very eloquently put it, you can always find a technical reason. I say always, it's easy. It's not difficult to find a technical reason to wriggle out of these agreements. So the agreements have to be very tightly drawn up. And the good faith, this wide good faith obligation and this all reasonable endeavours obligation, parties think that would save them. But in this case, it didn't. In another case, it might do, but in this case, it didn't. So it was an away win for Sainsbury's.
Okay, good, very good. Right, next.
Do you want another one? Do you want another one?
You know, this is actually like proper CPD.
Yeah, it's
actually. Do we want anybody to? If anyone watching has got a question, should we just give them a moment to ask you a question? No, no, they're probably out in the sun. It's nice out. It's nice out.
I'm not going to respond. It is very nice out. Neil, you should try it.
Yes.
But we're both in.
We're both in, right. Okay. So next case. 1-0 to Neil.
There's this is a case about a break option, a tenant's break option, which feature quite commonly in leases. And this tenant was NHS Property Services, and they'd taken this great big floor plate and they'd divided it up with partitioning into small offices for the NHS managers, and they had the right to break the lease early on condition that they gave vacant possession. So this case is all about what amounted to vacant possession. So they decided to break early. And when it got to the break date, they handed over the property. They took out all their stuff, whatever stuff is, their tables, their chairs, their bits and pieces, computers, all the movable stuff. And they moved that out and they handed back the keys to the landlord's agent. And they left behind the partitioning that they had installed. They left behind a kitchen. They left behind some wooden flooring. All these were tenants' alterations which they carried out under license, and that license provided for them to remove the alterations at the end of the term if the landlord served notice requiring it.
If the landlord served notice requiring it?
Requiring removal. But they didn't.
The landlord didn't serve notice. Okay.
Yeah. Now, this all turned on the partitioning. So forget about the other stuff. This was all about the partitioning. So the floor was divided up with all this demountable partitioning, and they served notice. The landlord could have served a notice on them saying, by the break date, you're going to have to remove everything you've installed, but they didn't. And NHS left, but they left the partitioning behind. And the landlord said, well, you've not complied with the vacant possession condition because you've not given up vacant possession, because you've left behind the partitioning.
Question.
Yes.
Did they need to, did the landlord claim to have sent a notice?
No, no notice was served. So contractually, NHS did not have to remove the partitioning, but
did they have to serve notice? Okay, so when did they have to serve notice on the tenant?
Before the end of the term. So before the break date.
Okay.
If they wanted the partitioning removed under the lease, they should have served notice before the break date. But the landlord said, regardless of whether or not we serve notice, you should have removed the partitioning anyway in order to give vacant possession, because you've not given vacant possession. And its reasoning was that the partitioning amounted to chattels. So they weren't fixtures, they were chattels, because they were removable and they were chattels. And if you leave chattels behind, you've not given up vacant possession. And furthermore, they were chattels which prevented the landlord from using the property after the break had been after the break date. So they couldn't relet it with all this partitioning in it.
Who was the landlord?
They were called Riverside Park. Not sure who they are.
Was it an institution or a
property? Doesn't look like it. Might have been.
And you want to know who won?
Sorry?
You want us to tell you who won?
Well, before asking you who won, you would normally think that partitioning is a fixture, wouldn't you? Because it's fixed to the floor and the ceiling and the walls often, and you would say that that is at least a tenant's fixture. Now, tenants' fixtures were excluded from the demise in the lease, but NHS said the minute we left, they became part of the demise because we left it behind. You didn't require us to take it away. So we left it behind. It formed part of the demise when we left it behind. We've given vacant possession because we've left you, because these are fixtures. They're not chattels that we had to remove. So it turned on the nature of this partitioning. Was it a fixture? Was it a chattel? Was it part of the property? I mean, you'd imagine that a fixture would be regarded as part of a property, wouldn't you? Or would you?
Yeah, okay, I know what I think. Okay, Dale, you got any questions? Dale?
No.
No, you're okay.
Hang on.
There you are, you're there.
Yep.
Any questions?
No. Again, I'm clear on the circumstances. Whether I'm clear on who's right or wrong, I'm not sure.
Can I just say, are you sure you don't ask a question? Because you did get it wrong last time. No questions. Okay, very confident. Right, Richard.
Right. So, who thinks NHS won, that they'd validly exercised their break? They'd given vacant possession.
Wait a minute. Richard wants to say something. Richard, you got any questions?
You can play this at home, everyone, by the way.
Yes. Yes.
I think.
No, hold on. Before you give the answer, any questions?
No questions. No questions. I'm clear. Have you got any questions, Neil? You normally have.
I've always got questions. I suggest that this all hinges upon whether the partitioning was how it was fixed to the premises. I don't think this has got anything to do with the serving of the notice. I think it's got to do whether it was a permanent fixture and how easily, because the whole point about demountable partitioning is it can be demounted. And I suspect this all relates to the nature of the partitioning. Am I warm?
You are.
Oh, what can I say? What can I
You're
say?
good at. You're good. You're very good.
What can I say? What can I say? What does the and what does the?
But that doesn't necessarily mean you've got the answer right. You've got the answer, but it does come to it's the nature of the partitioning. Was it a fixture or was it a chattel?
Okay, so I'm going to say it. I'm going to say that.
What does vacant possession mean? If you just leave a room empty and with all your movable stuff, you take it all away. Haven't you complied with the vacant possession requirement?
Well, funnily enough, we actually had to exercise a break option. No, we didn't exercise a break option. The landlord exercised a break option on a.
And we left behind partitioning.
Yes, we did leave behind partitioning, Richard. But we were very careful to make the premises really quite clean and tidy, didn't we? Or that wasn't quite the same. I think
it's not a condition.
It wasn't the same thing actually, because
it's not the same thing. Just because you leave it clean and tidy doesn't mean you're complying with the terms of your lease.
I think they wanted us out anyway, didn't they? I think they had enough of my jokes.
Come on, let's go. We need a vote. I think.
All right, vote. Dale, hold on. Let me turn you on. On it, Dale. Hold on. All right, you're speaking.
Yeah. I'm gonna go. I'm siding with.
I can feel the tension.
The tenant, the NHS.
Okay.
Richard?
I am going to side with the landlord.
Okay. And I think I am going to... Why are you laughing? I am going to side with the landlord as well. Now, okay, so wait for it. Okay. Michael?
Landlord won.
Oh, 2 out of 2. 2 out of 2. That's 2-1. Dale, it's been nice working with you. It's been nice working with you. Oh, there's a but. What's the but?
It's going to appeal. The NHS, they've applied for leave to appeal to the Court of Appeal.
So I might still be right.
You might still be right.
Thank you.
So
might still be here.
All these cases, they're very close run things. That's why they go to trial. So it's never entirely clear who's right or wrong.
So what was the reason for the decision? What do you call it in law? You call it something?
Judgment.
Yeah, that's it. A judgment.
What was the
No, what was the reason for it? What do you call
it? The reasoning was that the judge thought that the partitioning were chattels. Actually, he didn't even think they were fixtures. So the judge said that they were chattels, and even if they were fixtures, they were tenants' fixtures, which the tenant still had to remove. So it was quite a big win for the landlord. But the tenant is appealing or is applying for leave to appeal to the Court of Appeal in July. So it's not over yet, but I think the tenant will lose.
Who did you act for? Actually, on both these,
you weren't involved. No, we did. Neither were our cases, but that second case has got quite big implications for tenants, because if you've got a break right, which is conditional on vacant possession, it's actually quite difficult to comply with that condition if you've carried out alterations, because effectively, if you're acting for the tenant, you're saying to the tenant you're going to have to strip out, because you can't leave it in any doubt. You just got to, for the avoidance of doubt, you say to the tenant, just strip out everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Very good. That's very interesting, Michael.
Yeah, it's quite a nasty little case, actually. That one.
Got any more? That's really good.
I have actually.
This is quite good fun. Guys, should we just do one more rather than talk about property? This is much more interesting. Okay, come on. Let's go for another one, Michael.
I haven't prepared. Of course, I have. This is a rights of light case.
Oh, rights of light.
And it involves Scandia. Do you act for Scandia?
No.
Scandia were the developers, and the Ottercrofts had a restaurant next door the development. And this is quite amusing.
The what?
It's called Scandia and Ottercroft. The Ottercrofts were a couple, I think, and they had a restaurant which was next door a development.
Okay.
And the development, part of the development, a minor part of the development involved the replacement, and this is quite funny, the replacement of a wooden fire escape with a metal fire escape. Have you ever come across a wooden fire escape? Because if there's a fire, I think, anyway. So it made sense, I would think, to replace a wooden fire escape.
Sounds like an oxymoron to me.
It does. So it made sense to replace this fire escape with a metal one. The effect of putting in this fire escape, though, was to obstruct the light to a kitchen window of the restaurant. So it wasn't the main restaurant itself. It was to a window at the side of the kitchen. So it was a very minor obstruction of light. And the are you following me?
Yes.
So
it was a fire escape on the Ottercrofts building?
No, it was on the adjoining building, and it was being part of the development. The effect of putting in this new fire escape would reduce the amount of light that was getting into the kitchen, but not by a great extent.
Okay.
Okay. So the Ottercrofts said, they looked at the plans and they said there's going to be this obstruction, and we don't want you to put the fire escape where you're putting it. You can put it where you like, but you can't put it there. And the landlord, the developer, gave an undertaking to the Ottercrofts that he would not breach their rights of light. So he gave a written undertaking that he wouldn't do anything that might obscure the light to the restaurant window. Yep. So what do you think the landlord did, the developer did?
What do you think the developer did?
He
did obstruct it.
He did obstruct it. So he ignored he breached his own undertaking, and he went ahead and he just decided to build. He probably thought, I can't be bothered with this. It's a minor infringement. The worst I'm going to be, they're going to get sort of 10,000, 20,000 pounds damages out of me. And it's I can't hang around, and I'm going to go ahead and develop. So went ahead and developed, put the fire escape in, and the Ottercrofts applied to the court for an injunction requiring Scandia to pull down the fire escape. So, bearing in mind this was a minor infringement, the damages, the book value of this infringement was about £10,000, which is negligible. Do you think that the Ottercrofts got their injunction? Now, against the minor nature of the infringement, the landlord breached its own undertaking. So he really acted in a sort of an underhand manner.
So, question. Can I ask a question? Has planning got anything to do with it?
No.
Let's start with Dale.
Injunction is quite a big deal. It's quite a big deal to injunct a development.
Dale, I think it might be sensible to ask a few questions this time.
I am 100% confident on this one.
Do you know the others?
I know the Ottercrofts. Yeah, they're good friends of mine.
What's your call, Dale?
My call is, I think, despite it being a minor infringement, I'm siding with the Ottercrofts.
Okay, Richard.
I actually think it is more of a moral issue than a legal issue, because I can't understand what loss there is rather to the Ottercrofts in reality. And although the developer has acted immorally, I think ultimately they could do what they wanted to do. And I'm going to side with the developer.
Interesting.
That's interesting. Well, I'm
very well argued, by the way.
I'm going to go with the
Conclusion.
I'm going to go with the Ottercrofts because I think they must have breached their legal duties under their legal obligations not to obstruct the right of light. I don't think quantum comes into it, so I'm going to go with the Ottercrofts. Hold on, wait, hold on. Wait, I've been practicing this. Wait a minute.
The Ottercrofts got their injunction.
Ah, 3-0, hat trick. Neil's on a hat trick. Michael, do you need any help at Berwin, Leighton, Paisner? I mean,
my job's under threat now.
Maybe we could swap. Hold on, Dale, you got that one.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay, so I think. Okay, so I think if I don't want to rub it in at all, but one to Dale, 1 to Richard, and was it 3 to Neil? I think it was 3.
It was 3.
It was 3, wasn't it?
3.
It was 3. Okay.
Yeah,
well, thank you. That's very interesting, Michael.
But could I say
wait, go on.
May I ask what the judge ruled on giving the reason for the ruling?
Good question, because even though normally where it's a small infringement like that, you would not expect the claimant to get an injunction. You just wouldn't expect it. So to that extent, Richard's, your reasoning was absolutely right. But in this case, because the developer rather, had acted in breach of his own undertaking, that was what the court took a dim view of. And it was said in the judgment, it was to teach other developers a lesson. So it wasn't just on these particular facts, it was to teach developers a lesson that you can't go around doing things in breach of other people's rights, which these rights of life, the rights were breached. There was no dispute it was breached. It was a question of what the remedy was. And you can't go around as a landlord breaching other people's rights just because you think it's minor. You're not going to get away with it. And it was a deliberate message sent out to developers in this case. So the moral of the story is, if you're a developer, be nice to your adjoining owners. If you're a landlord, be nice to your tenants. You can't have too much consultation, actually.
Yeah, very good. That was very interesting. Very interesting, Michael. Thank you very much. Okay, shall we? Do you want to watch? Do you want to learn? We can teach you about property. It's much more complicated than law. Okay, shall we run? I tell you what, guys. Since we've been on for 30 minutes, should we just talk about the upcoming sales rather than what's on the market? Because if we just, people can go to our website and see. So we should. Why don't you guys just run through the multitude of sales coming up?
We have got a lot of sales coming up, 15 or 16 sales coming up, which is a blend of high street retail in England and Scotland. We have got retail warehousing in Scotland as well, and we've got retail in Greater London, the Midlands, the North East, and also Scotland. Lot sizes range from £400,000 up to £3 million. So hopefully a few things to suit most pockets. Get in contact with us and we'll supply information early where possible. Otherwise, look out for our emails.
Is that all our sales? Was that all our sales?
Sales you wanted.
Oh, so that's all
You
of
didn't
them.
say current sales, you said upcoming sales.
Oh, upcoming sales. Okay, so Dale, why don't you mention the ones on the market very quick that we've got now? In case people have missed them. Oh, I muted you. Sorry.
Hello. Okay. So just a quick run through of our current sales. We've just brought to the market a retail warehouse in Scunthorpe, which is let to go outdoors with 11 years unexpired. That one we're quoting just over £2.5 million, which is 6% with a reversionary yield of 6.6%. We've got an Iceland store in Saltcoats in Scotland with 13 years unexpired with fixed minimum increases. 1.225 million pounds, 6.25% rising to 7% in 2020, and 8% after that. We've got a health and fitness club in Cwmbran, South Wales, 19.75 years to Nuffield Health, 3.85 million pounds, 6.4%. And we've got a restaurant in Swansea City Centre, Let to Ask, with 7 years. That's just over £1 million, 6%. And finally, we've got a number of banks investments in locations in Scotland, Carlisle, which are all let to Bank of Scotland with 15 years unexpired.
Okay, good. Okay, so that's it for today, I think.
Can I just say,
Wait.
I'm getting so many messages, Neil, WhatsApp messages,
Saying
principally
what?
from my family. So I just want to say hello to Jessica and her work colleagues at QVC.
Oh, well, if you're going to do that, I'm going to say hello to Annabelle. Hold on, you've forgotten someone very important in your life, Michael.
Yeah.
Do you want to mention the dog?
Ollie.
You're not going to mention the dog? No. Okay. All right.
I had a rabies jab this morning, actually.
Really?
But that's another story. I don't even know why I mentioned that. Just you mentioned the dog, so I mentioned I had a rabies jab.
Okay. Well, whilst we're on the subject, could you whereabouts did you have it?
In my arm.
No, I mean, which part of London? Ah! I'm getting good at this. I like this. Okay, I like this. Okay, guys. So look, that is a very. I think that was a really interesting Google Hangout today. And actually, I can announce something that is we actually have had a 400% increase in the number of likes of people watching. We've had 4 people. That's a 400% increase who've actually liked us. So that's pretty good, isn't it? It's all about statistics. It's all about building. Anyway, so can I just say, if anybody would like to contact Michael for some legal advice, he's offering a 5% discount.
That's fine. 5% is good.
5%, I thought I'd start low. 5% discount on all of it. But in all seriousness, if you contact Dale, Richard, and myself, if you need any legal advice, we'll put you in touch with Michael. All right, and we'll be delighted to help. And in terms of CPD certificates, anybody would like to contact us, we can send you a CPT certificate. And I think we're done. Aren't we? I think, Dale? Richard? And our guest, Michael. Okay, so we'll see you in 2 weeks' time. Thanks very much.
All right.